Greetings, scholars. Today, you will be learning about the foundations of Georgia's government. On the screen, to your left, you can see the state seal for Georgia. On the right, you will see our state flag. Included in the flag is our state seal, which is surrounded by 13 stars to signify that Georgia was the 13th British colony. At the bottom, I've created a little saying to help you remember the motto for the state of Georgia. It goes like this: 13th colony, 4th state in the nation, Georgia's motto, wisdom, justice, moderation. You're going to need to remember those. You might just see that on a test. Let's take a look at the standards you will be learning today. Today, we are examining Social Studies 8th grade Civics and Government Standard 1. The standard says the student will describe the role of citizens under Georgia's Constitution. You will be able to explain the basic structure of the Georgia State Constitution, explain the concepts of separation of powers and checks and balances. You will be able to describe the rights and responsibilities of citizens. You will be able to explain voting qualifications and elections in Georgia. You'll be able to explain the role of political parties in government. Lastly, you'll be able to identify wisdom, justice, and moderation as the 3 principles of the Pledge of Allegiance to the Georgia's flag. Let's begin by looking at Georgia's Constitution. Please take a look at the questions that you have been provided with and be on the lookout for the answer to those questions. What is a constitution? Or what is the purpose of a constitution? The purpose of a constitution is that it establishes the relationship between a government and its people. Our state constitution defines the structure and powers of our state government. Georgia's government has operated under 10 different constitutions beginning in 1777, and the current constitution was ratified or passed in 1983. As you may recall, during the Reconstruction era, the state of Georgia had to rewrite its constitutions to include the 13th Amendment, rewrite again to include the 14th Amendment, and also rewrite again to include the 15th Amendment. So as time has changed, the Constitution has been changed as well. This photograph shows you a copy of the state constitution that was published in 1861. This would have been during the Civil War, when Georgia had broken away from the United States government and had joined the Confederate States of America. How is the Constitution set up? Our state constitution is based on many of the same principles as the United States Constitution, and it is also structured similarly. The beginning of our Constitution starts with a preamble, and it is followed by 11 articles that address the different branches and duties of our government. Our preamble is a short paragraph, and its purpose is to state the purpose of the Constitution and gives reasons for its existence. Georgia's preamble states, "To perpetuate the principles of free government, ensure justice to all, preserve peace, promote the interest and happiness of the citizen and of the family, and transmit to posterity the enjoyment of liberty, we the people of Georgia, relying upon the protection and guidance of Almighty God, do ordain and establish this Constitution." Let me repeat the Constitution for the United States Constitution Preamble so that you can see where there are differences and similarities. For the United States Constitution, the preamble states, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." Did you see the similarities? There weren't very many differences, but there were a few. Georgia's Constitution is separated into 11 articles. Each article of the Constitution creates or outlines the expectations, requirements, and powers of the state government and also for the citizens. Article 1 lists the Bill of Rights, which are rights that are guaranteed to all citizens of the state of Georgia. Article 2 explains voting and elections that take place within the state. Article 3 outlines the requirements and the qualifications to be a part of the legislative branch, and it also outlines the powers, roles, and responsibilities of the legislative branch. Article 4 explains constitutional boards and commissions. Article 5 outlines the executive branch, qualifications, rules, and limitations. Article 6 establishes the judicial branch and outlines how the judicial branch operates within the state. Article 7 refers to taxation and finance. Article 8 is about education within the state of Georgia. Article 9 refers to counties and municipal corporations. Article 10 is about amendments or changes to the Constitution, and Article 11 is called miscellaneous provisions, which is left open to encompass any situations that may not have been thought of when the Constitution was written. That, ladies and gentlemen, explains the Constitution for the state of Georgia. Next, we will discuss the separation of powers and why it is important. To begin with, the state of Georgia's government has been divided into 3 different parts, like the government of the United States. Each branch has a different role, which is called separation of powers. The legislative branch in Georgia is called the General Assembly. The legislative branch makes the laws that citizens must obey. The executive branch, which is our governor, is the head of the government who enforces the laws. The judicial branch, which are our courts, interprets the laws that are passed. Take a look at this graphic and notice the similarities between the structure of the national or federal government and our state government. At the federal level, we have a legislative branch which operates at the state capitol in Washington, D.C. In the state of Georgia, we have a General Assembly that also operates at the state capitol. The executive branch in Washington, D.C. is made up of the president, and the president lives at the White House. For our state, our executive is the governor, and the governor resides in the governor's mansion. Lastly, in the federal government, there is the United States Supreme Court, which is also in Washington, D.C., but for our state, we have a state Supreme Court. When our founders wrote the Constitution for the United States of America, they believed that it was important to include checks and balances within that document. When Georgia's constitutional authors sat down to create Georgia's Constitution, they too believed it was important to include checks and balances. Checks and balances have been included in our Constitution to ensure that one branch does not become too powerful. The branches put limits or checks on each other. Our Constitution is set up so that if one branch makes an error, another branch can set it right or balance it. The system of limiting the roles of each branch and setting right another branch's error is called checks and balances. If you recall, when the United States separated from British control, they felt that they needed to leave British control because the king had way too much power, and they did not want to create a new independent government that gave too much power to one person. So that is why the founders included checks and balances within the U.S. Constitution, and then why it was also included in the Constitution for the state of Georgia. Here is a flowchart that shows you ways that each of the different branches can check or balance the other ones. For example, the executive branch can veto any legislation or bills that the legislative branch sends to the executive. The legislative branch can override the veto of the executive. They also must confirm appointments and can impeach officials. So those are two ways that the legislative and executive branch can check each other. The legislative branch can propose constitutional changes, and they can also impeach officials. That is overseen by the judicial branch. That is one way the legislative branch can oversee the judicial branch. However, once a law is created, the judicial branch can check or balance by determining if a law is or is not constitutional. Lastly, the executive branch may appoint some court officials, and in response, the judicial branch has the power to review executive orders that are created by the executive. Here are some state-specific examples that you can notate on your paper. Firstly, the governor cannot make laws. That is the job of the legislature. However, if the legislature passes a law or a bill, the governor can veto or say no and prevent the bill from becoming a law. Only the governor can appoint public officials. However, the Senate must approve those public officials before they can take office. The judicial branch may declare laws unconstitutional, in which case they are no longer laws. Those are just a few examples of how checks and balances work within our state to prevent one branch of our government from becoming too powerful. Speaking of power, let's talk about the rights and responsibilities of citizens. The United States Constitution and the Georgia Constitution both give all citizens basic rights. Rights are standards that keep institutions from harming people's freedom. The Bill of Rights in Georgia's Constitution lists the rights of citizens. Some of those rights include the right to freedom of speech and religion, the right to keep and bear arms, the right to a trial by jury, the right to a lawyer, and many others, and most of these are very similar to the rights that are outlined in the U.S. Constitution. Here, you can see people exercising their right to freedom of speech and the freedom to protest. Along with rights and power come responsibilities. Laws are made by the government to protect people's rights. As citizens, we have the responsibility to take care of ourselves, to respect the rights of others, and to obey rules and laws. Some examples. The Constitution grants the right to freedom of religion. However, worship must obey the laws of the state. It cannot be immoral or harm people. It also grants the right to bear arms, but people must obey the laws that deal with owning and carrying guns. Let's discuss voting and elections within the state. This topic, voting within the state of Georgia, has been a hot topic in the news recently. Well, let's look at what is in the Constitution regarding the qualifications for voting in the state. Article 2 of the state constitution outlines the voting qualifications for elections. First, you must be a citizen of the United States in order to register to vote. When you do register, you must be a legal resident of Georgia and of the county where you wish to vote. That means that when you go to register, you must be able to prove that you live within the state of Georgia, and if you live in Cobb County, you must register to vote within Cobb County. At the time of an election, you must be at least 18 years of age or older. Lastly, a person cannot vote if she or he is serving a sentence for a felony conviction or has certain mental disabilities. Briefly, a felony is a serious crime. And if you are currently in jail or if you are on probation for committing a felony, you are not allowed to vote. As well, if you have certain mental disabilities that prevent you from making an informed decision on your own, you also are disqualified from voting. You may have seen these stickers before. This is one of the fun parts of voting. Once you leave the voting place, the polling precinct, you are given your own sticker to say that you are a Georgia voter. Yes, even adults like to get stickers. Elections. Citizens register to vote on a county-by-county basis. So if you meet the previous qualifications, you are a citizen of the United States, you are a legal citizen of the county within Georgia in which you desire to vote, then you will go to a specific location near your home to cast your ballot, which is just another way of saying to vote. Within the state of Georgia, most polling places are open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. on election day. As you may know, some of the voting times have recently changed, but on election day, polling places are open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. As well, employers are required to give their employees up to 2 hours to vote on election day. If you know that you will be unable to vote on election day, you can cast an absentee ballot by mail before the election. However, if you wish to cast an absentee ballot, there is a process which you must complete, and you must complete that within a certain amount of days before the election takes place. Here is a picture of people going to vote on the voting machines that the state of Georgia uses. This picture was taken several years back, so the voting machines look a little different now, but they are still touchscreen voting machines. Each fall, Georgians vote for a number of positions depending on the year. So every year within the state, elections are held, but it just depends on who is running for office and what year you are voting within. Every 4 years, citizens vote for officers in their county government. Every 2 years, Georgians vote for members of the state's General Assembly. In those 2-year elections, Georgians are voting for state senators and state House of Representative members. Every 4 years, there are elections for the governor and lieutenant governor. When the United States citizens vote for a president, we do not vote separately for a president and a vice president. The president is allowed to select their running mate, and whenever you vote for the candidate for president, you have no say-so in whom they choose for vice president. In the state of Georgia, we do that a little differently. In the state of Georgia, we vote separately for our governor and our lieutenant governor. There have been occasions when our governor might be of one political party and the lieutenant governor could be of a different political party. On the national level, presidential elections are held every 4 years on the first Tuesday in November. We just had an election in 2020, so the next presidential election will take place in November of 2024. Again, this is what many polling places might look like on the inside. Let's now discuss political parties. Political parties are groups of people who join together because of shared ideas and policies. So these are people that share the same ideas about how the government should operate and have similar goals of what they would like to see the government accomplish. They play an important role in government, and they provide opportunities for citizens to participate in the political process. Now, scholars, you do not have to join a political party. However, the people you vote for are usually members of a party. Identification with a party makes it easier for a voter to know what the candidate stands for. There are 4 functions that political parties serve. Number 1, a political party will recruit and nominate candidates that they feel best represent the ideals of their political party. Secondly, political parties make efforts to educate voters about campaign issues that party finds important. Third, political parties help candidates win elections. Unfortunately, to be elected to office, you have got to have some money. But the good part about political parties is they are able to help you raise funds to run for a political position, and they can help you with the costs associated with an election. Lastly, political parties are set up to monitor the actions of the elected official. When George Washington was named as the first president of the United States, and he was giving his farewell speech after serving for 8 years as president of the United States, he made this statement. He warned citizens about forming political parties. He was worried that people would become more devoted to their party and the ideals of their party rather than being devoted to doing what is best for the nation. Well, I'm here to tell you that very quickly after Washington left office, political parties began to form, and members of government began to gravitate towards one party that they felt were most in line with their beliefs. In the United States, since 1860, when Abraham Lincoln was the first Republican elected to office, our country has been dominated by the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Although there are other parties, one of the two major parties usually controls the government on a national level and also at a state level. For example, the state of Georgia currently in 2021 has a Republican governor, a Republican lieutenant governor, and both chambers of the state legislature have a majority of Republicans. If you look at our national government, however, our president and vice president are of the Democrat Party. The Senate is controlled by Republicans, but the House of Representatives is controlled by Democrats. So it can be different within a state, and also we can see different controlling parties within our federal government as well. From time to time, people feel that neither party represents their ideas, and third parties are formed to challenge the two major parties. In the recent past, we have seen a candidate named Bernie Sanders, who is an independent. He is a senator from Vermont, and he is elected as an independent in the state of Vermont. However, when he votes in the Senate, he tends to side more so with the Democrat Party. There are also parties like the Green Party, the Libertarian Party. There is a Communist Party within the United States, and there are numerous other political parties. However, third-party candidates rarely win any elections. They just are not able to generate the same kind of money, and they are not as able to get their message and their views out to the public. That is why we are mostly controlled by the Democrat and Republican parties within our state. However, third parties are still important. They're valuable because they introduce new ideas or issues that should not be ignored. Here you can see the political symbols for the two major parties in the United States. On the left, the Republican Party, also known as the GOP, which stands for Grand Old Party, is represented by an elephant. On the right is the Democrat Party, and it is represented by the donkey. If you'd like to know why these two symbols were chosen, you can look up the illustrator named Thomas Nast, N-A-S-T, and he created a political cartoon that had both the donkey and the first time we saw an elephant. The donkey goes back to a time when Andrew Jackson was in office, and he was a stubborn kind of guy. And if you know anything about mules or donkeys, they're supposedly stubborn animals as well. So when Jackson became a prominent Democrat, they used a donkey to describe him, and that just kind of stuck as well. Don't ask me, folks. I don't make up the rules. I don't make up the symbols. Sometimes it just happens that way. Lastly, we're going to talk about the Pledge of Allegiance for the state of Georgia. Yes, there is a Pledge of Allegiance to the state flag of Georgia. The current flag for the state of Georgia was adopted in the year 2003. We will be learning or have learned about this state flag controversy that happened in 1956. And unfortunately, for a long period of Georgia history, the Confederate cross of, I can't remember the name right now, sorry about that, but the Confederate battle cross was actually included on the state flag. It was changed in early 2000s, but in 2003, the new flag was created. The St. Andrew's Cross. That's what the Confederate battle flag included. Sorry about that. So the current state flag has 3 red and white stripes and the state coat of arms in the upper left corner on a blue background. The coat of arms includes an arch that symbolizes the Constitution. An arch goes over the top and covers 3 pillars, just like the Constitution covers the citizens with protection and covers the government with their rules and regulations. Each of the 3 pillars that you will see in a moment represent each of the 3 branches of government. 1 pillar for the legislative branch, 1 pillar for the judicial branch, and 1 pillar for the executive branch. Lastly, there is a banner that weaves through the pillars, and the state's motto, wisdom, justice, and moderation, appear on that sash. And underneath the arch, you can see, which is also included on the dollar bill, the phrase, "In God We Trust." So again, there is the arch that goes over the pillars, pillar 1, pillar 2, pillar 3, and here is the sash that is draped over that includes the motto, wisdom, justice, moderation. You will also see a soldier standing at the ready. How many stars are around our state seal? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Why are there 13 stars on our flag? Does anyone remember? Does anyone know? If you recall, Georgia was the 13th colony for Great Britain that was established in North America. Therefore, our flag includes 13 stars to represent our position as one of the original colonies. In 1935, the Georgia legislature adopted the Pledge of Allegiance to the Georgia flag. It says, "I pledge allegiance to the Georgia flag and to the principles for which it stands, wisdom, justice, and moderation." The 3 important principles of the Pledge of Allegiance are the same ones displayed on the coat of arms. There you can see members of the government saying the pledge. Let's review one more time what the 3 principles for the state of Georgia are and what each of them means. First, we have the word wisdom. Wisdom is used to remind the legislative branch to be wise as they create laws. Justice appeals to the judicial branch for fair and just decisions. And moderation urges the executive branch to carry out laws calmly within the boundaries of the law. I hope that you now understand what your rights and roles as a citizen of Georgia include, as are outlined in the state constitution. I hope that you will use your wisdom, always be just, and do things in moderation as well. Take care. Bye, scholars.